Hello, Shalom, and welcome to part 2 of a 3-part video series looking at the 10 commandments in the original Hebrew. Today we'll look at verses 7 to 12. Exodus 20, verses 7 to 12. Vayom Hashiviri, and the day, the 7th, Shabbath. So this is where we get the word Sabbath. It comes directly from this Hebrew word. Notice that, as I said before, the dot on this side indicates that it's a sh, and the dot on the other side indicates that it's just an s. So then why do we say Sabbath and not Shabbath? Well, the reason is that this word has come into English from Hebrew, but it's come through Greek and Hebrew, and they don't have the sh sound, so it became s, and so then we borrowed it with just an s. Sabbath. Lo Yahweh Elohecha lo tagese kol melacha ata ubinecha ubithecha. So not shall you do, you mustn't do. Kol, the first approximation translation of kol is all, but here again it's best, especially with a negative, to say you won't do any work. You, this is a masculine singular freestanding pronoun, you, and this again is the masculine singular suffix form, and your son and your daughter. But again, with the negative in English, we'd probably say you or your son or your daughter, your servant, this is your male servant, or your maid servant, your woman servant, or your animal. So the animals too are to have a rest from their work. Word gerecha, so ger is a sojourner or the foreigner who's staying with you. Asher bishgaricha, who is in your gates. So that's in your gates, in other words, in your town, living with you, in your city. Ki sheshet yomim rasa Yahweh et hashemayim for in, there's no word here in, but we say in 6 days made God, object, the heavens, and I've run out of space on this sheet, so we'll carry it on in the next sheet. So it's continuing verse 11, God made the heavens, and object again the earth, object the sea, and object all which in them. So this is in, that means in, and the M ending means them, in them. Vayanach, and he rested. This is actually where the name Noah comes from, because his father said, this man will give us rest from all our toil. So this is rested, and he rested in the day, the 7th. Al-Kain, upon this, so we would translate it because, or so, we just say so, Barech, blessed. Again, verb and then subject. So in English we put the noun first, God blessed, object, day the 7th, and hallowed it, made it holy, and he kadosh ehu, he made it holy. Just a quote from the NET Study Bible Notes. For a Christian, keeping Saturday holy is not a requirement in the New Testament. It may be a good and valuable thing to have a day of rest and refreshment, but it is not a binding law for the church. The principle of setting aside time to worship and serve the Lord has been carried forward, but the strict regulations have not. But long before Jesus, poor people and labouring people especially got great benefit from these wise laws that God gave to Moses to ensure that they got a good day's rest. Coming now to verse 12, it's the second commandment that is expressed in positive form. Kabed. And this is a PL imperative. The form of the verb is what's called a PL, and it is an imperative form. Run out of space, I'll just write a B there. Just an interesting point here on pronunciation. These three letters here of this word are what in linguistics are called stops. They're three stops because when you say them, your mouth stops the air. And you can just hear me releasing the air. And then here you stop the air between your lips, and you hear it when it's released. And here you stop the air with your tongue just behind your teeth. So these are the three. Well, Hebrew actually has another one, which we won't worry about just now. But these are the three main ones, which we also have in English. And each of them has two pronunciations. One is to pronounce them as a stop, and the other is to pronounce them as what's called a fricative. And that means that the air, instead of being stopped as a the air is put across roughly. Instead of being stopped as in b, the air is, your mouth is nearly closed but not completely closed, so the air is able to push through. And this one, d, becomes that's when it becomes a fricative. As a stop, it's D in English, and as a fricative, we write it TH. So these dots here sometimes indicate that they're doubled, but in this case, the effect is that they are made into stops. But this one doesn't have it, so it is a fricative. Kabed. But in modern Hebrew, this sound isn't used, and so in modern Hebrew they would make them all into stops. Kaved. So yes, it's a PL imperative, and it's the one that's normally translated honor. Object father your and object mother your, lemaran, so that they may be long. Now this is unusual to have this N ending here. Normally it would just end with the U. That's the imperfect third person plural. They will be long. But the N at the end is not usually there, and it, according to the commentators I read, gives a marked emphasis. So they will be long days your upon the ground, the land, ground or land, which Yahweh your God, not then, this is a participle, is giving to you. To you, again, masculine singular. And Ephesians 6:2 refers to this commandment, calling it the first commandment with a promise. So there's a promise here for those who obey the commandment that you honour your parents, and then you yourself will have a long life.